Bevin Wint. What has it been like? Now, let me stop. Let me roll up back because I'm talking as if everybody knows you. Let me roll up a bit. Let me roll up, Dr. Wint. Who are you, sir? Who are you? Who are you? So the audience gets a vibe of who you are.
No, I just believed I had life all worked out. I thought I had chosen the right path for me to go and have the sort of lifestyle that I deserve and desire. But it was upon me participating in that career and actually practicing that career where I found out that it was just another glorified job and that I was still under the control of somebody else. And that's something that I never really associated myself with. I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to be my own boss. And I believe I held a really great position as being a doctor in the occupational field, but it just wasn't fulfilling who I wanted to be or become. So I decided that I needed to make a change. I couldn't stay doing the same thing that I wanted to do. And that's when I went in search for business. And I had the privilege of having a background of business. My parents and grandparents have always been involved in business. So I kind of knew that inertly that was something I had skills that I hadn't developed in, and that's where I got involved in financial education and planning. And I started that this year will be 12 years ago.
Wow, man, you got so much to say, man. I'm gonna pull you back there. I'm gonna pull you back, man, because I want to understand. I want my audience to understand the shift that you make. Because if you imagine that you spent X amount of years at university, at medical school, to then come out to be a qualified doctor, that's some pound notes involved in that, man. That's some pound notes involved in that. So what was it specifically that made you shift? Something made you shift your mindset from that entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. And it was a paradigm shift. I realized after 7 years of study and me looking around at the circumstances, and I remember walking into the hospital one morning and looking at the consultants, the people that I'm aspiring to become or to take their role. And I remember asking myself, well, if I'm going to go and do this, I need some evidence. I need some evidence that this is where I want to go for the next 20, 25, 30 years of my life. And when I began speaking to these consultants and really finding out what or who they are. See, it's great that these guys are all making six-figure incomes. But when I looked at the balance that they had and the sacrifice they needed to make to attain that, a lot of them told me that they didn't have a great family balance, that their children grew up with them not being really around because of the demands of the shift. A lot of them weren't happy in what they were doing, and a lot of them said if they could change, they would have. And I understand the importance of that, but I realized that's not the lifestyle I wanted to create for myself. See, I had a very different vision of how it would look. And I was being sucked into the age-old, way of a job. I was also not particularly happy with how the structure worked within inside the medical field. I wasn't happy with some of the priorities and their ethics and values that really went against what I wanted to achieve. So it was really a combination of all of those put together. What really made me think, I'm not sure if I want to do this. And then if I also add in the fact that you're overworked, underpaid, and unappreciated. And it was a combination of those, Alex, that allowed me to think about potentially making a shift into entrepreneurship.
So there are so many people out there that we assume by virtue of the positions they hold, we look at them and think they've got a fantastic lifestyle. They seem happy. Everything seems, all the ducks seem like they're in row and they're in place, but really they're not at the end of it.
Alex, it's such a big, what you just said is huge. And now more than ever, I know this is going to become the most important interview this week. There wasn't another interview this week, was there? I'm sure there wasn't. So this has now become the #1 interview for this week. But again, the mental health side of things is huge. And, I remember speaking to consultants, and these are people you think would know better. But they have fallen down into a really dark place. When I was speaking to them, I was thinking, wow, is this what it's going to look like for me? And it's something that I was determined to change.
Wow. Do you know that is amazing to have made those decisions at that stage of your life? You could have done 25 years and then realized that you took the wrong path. That's
100%.
amazing. What a catastrophe that would have been if you did 25 years and then realized that the ladder is up against the wrong wall.
Absolutely. And Alex, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, a lot of people have already recognized that it's their wrong path, but then they allow external factors to determine where they need to be, and they don't build the courage or have the boldness to go and change that. So they know they want to change, they know they're not happy, but as you said, the ladder's on the wrong wall, and they keep climbing the same ladder knowing that it's not leading them to their destination.
Wrong ladder, not destination. So so you made that decision, and then you chose entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurship chose you.
Yeah.
So what was the beginning of the journey where you are now? What was the beginning of that journey like? Because I am sure it's like because you did so many years in education, so you know what it's like to put the hours in to make something happen. Then to start a new business means you got to do exactly the same thing again. What was that like?
It was tough. It was really tough. It was a decision that I initially made, but I didn't really realize the implications of the decision. I was there, and I remember first changing over to going to do business. And we all know business is not easy. In fact, there's a stat that says 95% of most businesses fail within its first year. And I can tell you, during my first years of business, it was a tough struggle. It's something that I had to put time into. I had to go through struggles and changes. And there was many times I looked at myself and I said to myself, have I made the right decision here? It's really easy for me to go back into the medical field. They're actually crying out for me to come back. Have I made the correct decision? But it was hard, Alex. I had a lot of outside influences also saying to me, are you sure you've made the right decision?
Yeah, well, I was about to say that to you, because if you're thinking that, can you imagine what your parents are thinking? What did they say?
Well, initially they were like, are you sure? Listen, you've studied for 7 years, we put you through med school, and you've only practiced for a few years. Are you sure you're not jumping ship too early? And my outside family, they were like, boy, are you crazy? What are you thinking to go and do business? I mean, you've got a career, and a highly respected career. Why don't you just stay on that path?
And if as a Jamaican, and in a Jamaican society, being a doctor, mate, that's the top of the tree.
Well, being a Jamaican,
highly respected, huh?
Being a Jamaican, everybody say, you'd have to be a doctor or a liar.
Hey, that is so true. Wow.
And I went the doctor route, but I also understood that as much as I respect the outside views of everyone, including my parents, I also need to value my opinion above that. And I knew that this cannot be the path for me. See, I'm the one that's going to be in this for the next 20, 25 years. And if I can already have a glimpse into that future to see what it looks like, and I'm not completely comfortable with that, it means I needed to change. And eventually, when I explained this to my parents, who were the biggest factors for me, when I explained to them, what it looks like and how I'm feeling about it, I got their support. And in fact, what they said, they say, you know what, we didn't raise no fool. So if this is where you want to go, we're going to be there 100% behind you. And that gave me an added confidence to move forward.
Wow. Wow, man, that is massive support to make a shift and to step in. So you're on the journey to become an entrepreneur. Now, being a doctor, what kind of leadership skills did you have to develop then to help you on this journey?
Wow, it's funny. What kind of leadership skills? Well, first of all, the first skill I needed to do is spell the word. Learn how to spell the word. That's how much leadership skills I didn't have. So I had to learn how to spell the word first. And then I had to develop the different stages of leadership. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the finished article, because I'm not. Okay. I'm still striving to become a better leader every day. And that's a journey that will never change for as long as I'm on the planet. But I needed to fill myself with the right content, read from those I've gone before, and really align myself with some of those values so I could then become a better leader of myself. It started with me. I needed to lead myself. Before you can become a leader of men and women, you need to be able to be in a position where you can lead yourself. And I found out that I wasn't leading myself. I was a follower, but I wasn't leading. And that's where it began really pouring into myself. And then that literally shone through to where I could help others to do the same.